Welcome to Mission Undercover. Joining me today is Kim Nugent, author, leadership expert, and advocate for prison reform. We are going to explore how we can reform the prison system, strategies for personal development, and how AI will impact both our personal lives and wider society. Could you start by introducing yourself and what your background is, and what experiences shaped you and brought you to where you are today?
Sure. Actually started out in the hospitality industry. And from there, I started out as any young person would, working in a restaurant and then worked my way up. I actually have a degree in hotel and restaurant management. And then eventually I became a general manager of a hotel, which was really my dream. And then after that, I went back to school, earned my doctorate because I wanted to teach at the university level. And then from there, I eventually worked my way up and became the president of the university a couple of times. And then ultimately, I went and opened my own business and had started writing books, and someone had reached out to me who was doing volunteer work in a prison and asked if I would consider writing a book to be able to help people in prison. What impacted me the most in my career early on, at the age of 16, I had a mentor. And then later on in my career at the university, I had another mentor. And so I use mentorship really as the foundation of the books that I write.
That's really interesting because I've always liked the idea of mentorship, and I think it's always really helpful to have someone who's been through similar experiences to you to try and support you in your development. So, could you talk more about your experiences with mentorship and how you can go about finding someone and how helpful it is?
Well, I think younger people today don't even think about having a mentor, but it is just so critical. For me personally, I had a mentor from the age of 16 until 32, and my mentor passed away. And she helped me personally and professionally. Because when you're younger, you don't always make the wisest decisions. And sometimes it's easier to hear from somebody else instead of maybe your parents. And so that was the first thing. Then when I went to university and I became the president, I knew I needed a different kind of mentor because I needed to navigate boards, faculty, staff, different employers, for example. And so one thing, really, when you're thinking about having a mentor, what is it that you really want? What do you want to learn? What do you think would be helpful to you at that point in your career so that you get the best? The other thing I think is when you're talking to someone about the possibility of being a mentor, is think about how much time it's going to take and what you're looking for when you ask. Because that mentor's going to say, how much time, how often do you want to meet, and what is it you're looking for? And if you can do that, that can be helpful for them to decide whether or not they would like to become a mentor.
I think it's more about removing uncertainty, like the main thing that you're looking for when you're like asking someone for advice is like having certainty about a situation that you're really unsure about.
100%.
Have you experienced any difficulties in your life? And what would you say is the most important skill that can help you overcome such adversity?
So yes, as everyone else has, but I have a different outlook than most people probably. And that is that whenever there's a problem that arises, I think about how can I solve it? And that's really, I would say that that's been the lens that I look at every day.
So, how do you think someone can build sort of a purpose in their life to help drive everything that they do, to give them that innate determination to achieve something and to improve their life? I always talk about the idea of moral ambition, rooting your ambitions in the purpose of serving society and serving the people around you, helping other people. Do you think that that's a good approach to life? Or is there any other ways that you can help imbue yourself with a bit of purpose to drive everything you do in your life?
So it's something really important. I think it's really important for everyone to find their purpose. Now, how you do that, it's a lot of ways. You can read, you can go to school, you can talk to people, you can think about what really makes you have joy or something you would absolutely love. And, there's an old saying that says, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I really believe that.
How can someone improve crucial skills like leadership and communication to help improve their personal development?
So I would say, first of all, by reading or listening, if you're not a reader, Audible or some other auditory information to continue to grow and learn. And I do think that leaders are learners. They never stop. So, thinking that someone, for example, gets a degree and they're finished with learning, that's not helpful. The other thing is when we stop learning, we stop getting curious. And if we don't look at things from a lens of curiosity, we won't be as successful as we can. This again is where a mentor comes in to help guide you. And I do think that as you age or gain more experience, those mentors should change.
Yeah, it's definitely true that the most successful leaders throughout history have been those who have learned the most about the world around them, reading stuff like philosophy, always engaging in trying to improve their own knowledge, but also learning about the people that they're leading. So when they have that knowledge, they can connect more with the people that they serve and they get better outcomes as well. So I want to talk more about prison reform now. So could you set the scene about what the current problem is within the prison system? What are the effects of the current system? And what impacts is it having on society?
And that is a large question, but I'm going to answer it from my perspective in the place that I work, meaning programming. So I'll just take the United States. However, the problem is bigger around the world. So in the United States, only 50% of prisons have programming. And programming is critical for someone to be able to change and transform their lives. And the reason, if you don't have programming, there's idle time. And if you have idle time 23 hours a day, bad things continue to happen. So that will be the first thing that I would say. I think also leadership, meaning leadership at the top with prisons, whether that's state, federal, or private, those leaders need to really come from a place transformation and believe in rehabilitation. That is not true everywhere. The other thing is the laws across the United States vary from state to state. So there's no consistency. And so you can expect, just like any corporation, it always comes back to the leader at the top. If the leader at the top is not looking for change and transformation, it's going to stay the way it always has. It'll be all about punishment. If a leader is more creative, more innovative, and looking for really changing people's lives, that's when things can really happen.
So, what role does the ownership structure play? Is it a system where private equity is in major control, or is it mainly government control?
I would say majority is government control for sure,
Okay.
whether
So,
that's
do you
state or
think
federal.
that the government's inefficiency or their lack of drive to actually tackle the issues surrounding this are the main cause of the problems that we're seeing, or is it mainly something else?
I don't know 100%, but from my lens, and when I look around the world, and there's some great examples of prisons that are doing amazing things, but there are more examples of not. And I think it's a resource issue.
So, what type of activities could you give prisoners to stop this idle time that could push them towards dangerous things like drugs or other violent activity?
If the prison was open to some kind of program, there's so many fantastic organizations out there that can come in and be able to offer opportunities for people who are incarcerated, men or women. So that would be the first thing. Reading the books actually in prisons and jails, they don't have enough resources. And if the community just decided to donate books, that would be amazing.
I think another main cause of the problems is a mindset issue, right? Because the main mindset of government and also private authorities is that prison is all about punishment. It's all about making sure that we are locking these people away from society so that they don't pose a problem to us and to our society. That's part of it. But it has to be towards rehabilitation as well, trying to turn people's lives around and reintegrate them back into society. But currently, especially in the UK, the prison system isn't providing enough support to give people skills in prison, to allow them to actually access employment after they leave, which is going to push them further into areas like crime so that they can financially survive because many employers don't take formerly imprisoned people. So Do you think part of the solution is that we offer more employment support and skills support within prisons, but also provide different employers that have accreditation to specifically hire prisoners, or schemes that can funnel people into employment so that we can reduce the likelihood of reoffending, because reoffending rates are astronomically high in the UK. And that's also partly because the probation service is very underfunded.
Start with the first thing you said, which is mindset. And absolutely, that's true for anyone, whether you're in prison or not. It all starts with mindset. And so, really, the opportunity to be able to shift and look at things again from a curious, appreciative, and adaptable mindset is really critical. That's the first thing. The second thing is that, you know, if I had that perfect formula, I would literally think about the moment a person is processed and comes into prison to create an individualized plan, or then to be able to work that plan, if you will, and take classes and skills that they would like to learn so that they become employable before they leave. On the other end, if I were a government, I would have incentives financially for employers to consider the possibility of hiring someone who has a record. The other thing is, since COVID, and I know people are really tired of hearing about COVID, but around the world we have staffing shortages. And when I'm inside these prisons and I look at the numbers of people who are incarcerated, we have a labor force. And these guys, these men and women really want to go to work and just need a chance. And I think if you and I, hypothetically, were in prison and we were let out, we've been in for a few years, we would have a really difficult time making it because everything's stacked against us. And so what we're probably going to end up is back in prison.
What's your response to the criticisms of a more rehabilitative approach towards the prison system? People who oppose this would say that it would reduce the amount of deterrence that we have. It would dilute morality and justice, and it would mean that we have a soft approach towards crime. What's your response to that?
I absolutely do have a response to that. I think what most people don't know, 93% of people, at least in the US, this is pretty close to right, is that they will come back to live in a community at some time in the future, maybe years from now. So you have to ask yourself, do I want a neighbor who's actually gone through programming and wants a better life for themselves? Or do I want someone who has had many years to think of ways to become a better criminal?
I think the answer to that question is very clear. You obviously want someone who wants to integrate more into society and contribute to your communities. Because obviously, if you have people who are disillusioned with the system, who feel estranged from their communities, that is going to lead to a decline of social cohesion. And nobody wants fragmented communities like that. So finally, I want to talk more about the role that AI plays, both in the justice system and in personal development. So do you think that AI can be used successfully to improve the efficiency of the criminal justice system? Here in the UK, AI systems are already making breakthroughs into our system, with systems like Palantir being used for data collection and sorting through data and making more integration between services, but also AI technologies for live facial recognition and for improving efficiency of courts and sentencing. Do you think that this is a wise approach? Is it sensible, or is it potentially dangerous because of private control?
AI can be positive or negative. I want to focus on the positive. And that is absolutely, I think from a data analysis or predictive safety analytics, or definitely movement management or contraband detection, 100% AI can help. That's not the area I work in. And what's not being used is an AI individualized plan to be able to help a person. And this is one place where staffing can't fix it. So for example, a person comes into prison and they do an intake form, but they're not using AI. So, but if we did, we could find out what kind of level, for example, education they have. Not everybody needs a GED. We have some educated people coming to prison. So what is it that they need? Or maybe someone's never had a job. What do they need? So I could go on and on and on Something that simple could begin to change the future.
Thank you so much for your time. To finish, could you let the audience know what the title of your book is and where they can find out more about what work you do?
Yes, absolutely. So the title of my book is From Prison to Possibilities, Paving Your Path. It's on Amazon. And my website is Dr. Nugent, Nugent, speaks.com. And they can learn much more there.
Thanks so much, everyone, for watching and listening. If you enjoyed that, please make sure to subscribe and follow, and make sure to share this with your friends and your family. This has been Mission Undercover, and I hope to see you all next time.